are you feeling? How are you doing? I am always here to listen. Tell me something good, or we could have a smiling competition. I'm gonna check in with my friends, and I know they will do the
Good morning and welcome back. Mr. Parker here, live from my home studio for our first ever episode of Homeschool Psychology, the talk show edition. We're gonna have an amazing show for you today. We have special guests, we have musical guests, we have sports, we have weather. It's gonna be great. So this is gonna be our new format, and thank you so much for tuning into the last 47 episodes of Homeschool Psychology, where we sang songs and learned about skills. Moving forward, we're still going to be talking about really important skills, but I'm going to have some people from around the world speak about how they use these skills in their everyday life. And I'm going to have musicians from everywhere playing songs for us. I really hope you enjoy the show. And now we're going to talk about our first character trait of our new show, and it is resiliency. Have you heard of resiliency before? Being resilient? To me, resiliency means being able to bounce back from anything. Lots of negative things can happen in our lives. We could lose a soccer game, or get out of touch with a friend that we were really close with, or even have someone in our lives pass away. And what resiliency is our ability to come back from that. If you lose a soccer game, are you going to scream and yell? Or are you going to practice? Are you going to do something to get a little bit better and work a little bit harder? Resiliency is such an important skill. And I'm so happy that I have one of my friends here today, Larry Goers, the co-founder and creator of SpeedStacks. You might know SpeedStacks from this video right here. Speed stacking, as you saw, is just kind of like cup stacking. It's so cool. I hope you've tried it. And if you haven't, maybe you'll learn a lot more from Larry about it. But as we go to Larry, I want you to think about resiliency and how do you bounce back? For me, having people that I can talk to really helps me with resiliency. A strong support system. I can turn to my friends and family and say, I made a mistake or I messed up. Can you support me while I work through it? So now I'd like to introduce our first guest. Welcome to our show, Larry. Welcome to Homeschool Psychology. I hope you're excited to be here. I'm excited to have you.
Hey, Mr. Parker, what's happening?
Not much. Larry, I told him a little bit about sport stacking, and I played a clip, and I'm hoping you could talk a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Larry Goers, and we started this thing called sport stacking. You may have known it as cup stacking a long time ago, but it turned into a sport. It was something that kids were just kind of doing in the beginning, and myself and my business partner, Bob Fox, who was a PE teacher, he said, I think this can be a lot more than just something to play around with. And so we turned it into a school-based sport that's now done in, 45,000 schools all over the world. Yeah, 54 different countries, kids are doing sports stacking, and it's great.
Amazing. The company sounds amazing. I know a lot of our viewers at home have done sports stacking before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
if a lot of elementary schools are doing it, and it's something you do in PE class. But a lot of kids also do it at home, and some of them take it beyond that, and they start competing in local tournaments and national tournaments, and even sometimes in the world championships. That happens every year in a different country every year, and about a couple hundred kids get together and compete to see who's the fastest in the world.
Sounds so amazing. Larry, what an awesome thing that you guys have helped create in this whole world. That's so cool. So we're talking about resiliency. And in the beginning, I talked about it as being able to bounce back from a setback. And so I'm wondering, what can you share about resiliency?
Sure, yeah. Resiliency to me means how do you bounce back from things that go wrong? And, a good example of that for for me and for our company happened this year, right? Everybody stopped going to school all of a sudden, and we had to do everything from home. And what that meant for us is all the school programs that we had scheduled and were right in the middle of doing, they just stopped. And so all of us within our company, which is all over the country here, we had to just stop. We didn't know what to do. And, you know, we thought a lot about what kind of things could we do instead. And one of the things we started doing is we started making videos like crazy so that kids could do stacking at home instead of at school. And it wasn't easy. It was it was hard. And because it meant a lot of changes.
So, Larry, I'm hearing you say everything came to a halt.
Yeah.
And I bet that was pretty frustrating. I imagine.
Oh, it was hard. Yeah. And it was because it wasn't just me, it was everybody in our company. And you know, people are thinking, well, what are we going to do? What's next? How do we get over this?
So you have these feelings like frustration, maybe anger, maybe fear, maybe sadness.
Yeah.
And you had a couple choices. You could have given up. You could have gotten really mad. And maybe you got mad, and that's okay.
I got a little bit mad, I have to admit.
But I think what's so cool and important about resiliency is you took a step back, and then you started to say, what else could we do? We're stuck, we're not in schools. And now you created all these videos and you have kids around the world stacking. That's so great how you used resiliency.
Yeah, and it didn't work all, you know, perfectly at first. There was steps to that. You know, I tried something and it's like, oh, that didn't work. That kind of video isn't a good way to do it. Let's try again and try something different. And that was I think for me, an important part of it is it's not always going to work the first time when you try something different. Sometimes you have to try again and you're going to fail. And then you have to try again, you're going to fail. And that's okay, because that's all part of the process of being resilient and learning how to get past it.
I'm a firm believer in that mistakes are really just building blocks.
Yeah.
We try something, if it doesn't work, we've learned from it, and now we're a little bit better. And it sounds like that's exactly what you guys did at Speed Stacks.
Yeah. It's not something that you try to avoid. The mistakes are, like you said, that's part of the process, and that's okay.
Wonderful. Well, Larry, thank you so much for joining us. That was so valuable and so important. And it's just nice to hear that everybody needs to have resiliency, not just kids, but adults too.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And I'm sure we'll see you soon. And I'll put all your info in the bottom so kids can look up Speed Stacks and learn a little bit more about it.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Parker.
Thanks, Larry. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow. What an amazing guest Larry was. So I'll put some information in the bottom so you can learn a little bit more about Speed Stacks and sport stacking as a sport. But I just want to think about resiliency a little bit more. And it was so interesting to hear that Larry, as an adult with this giant company around the world, had to show resiliency just a few months ago. He was frustrated, he was angry, but he didn't throw a fit. He took a step back and he became even more creative. And that's just so cool to see. So for our next segment, I want to head out to the backyard with Teddy for the weather. Teddy?
It's hot!
Okay. Thanks, Teddy. Anyway, let's move on to our next segment, and it's going to be sports. And today for sports, we have Brody joining us for a little bit of Taekwondo. And I'm really excited to see this. So Brody, welcome to the show, and let's see what you got.
Thanks, Mr. Parker. Today I'm going to show you a Taekwondo form. Here we go. Next week, I'll show you something different. Back to you, Mr. Parker.
Wow, that was amazing. Brody, you really punched your ticket to get on this show. Great job, bud. Wonderful, wonderful show so far. We've had Larry Goers talking about speed stacking, we've had Teddy with the weather, we've had Brody with sports, and now I'd like to take us over to the park for our musical guest today. And our musical guest's name is Kid Astronaut. And Kid Astronaut is a fantastic musician in person from Denver, Colorado. And I hope you'll enjoy his latest song that he's going to play for us today, which is called Elevate. So Kid Astronaut, take it away.
Time and thought about my existence. We are not born to be complacent. No, said we are born to grow. I think about my place on earth. Yeah, my line of kings and queens. We are not born to die for gold. No, but to live for better things, yeah. And I know that we were meant to be special. And I know that we were made. Look at yourself and know that you can help all your sons and daughters to stand. We will elevate, yeah, and we will be great. I think about this change in time, yeah. I think about it all. I know my responsibility, yeah. I know I can't stand tall, yeah. Diamonds, they don't impress me, no. And I want to build my life a real world. I wanna be free, and I wanna dream while I have this time here on this earth, yeah. And I know that we were made to be special, and I know that we were made whole. Look at yourself and know that you can help all your sons and daughters to stand. We will elevate, yeah, and we will be great, yeah. Said I know that we were made to be special, and I know that we were made whole. Look at yourself and know that you can help all your sons and daughters to stand. We will elevate, yeah, and we will be great, be great.
So what's up, everyone? Once again, my name is Kid Astronaut.
And I'm Bo.
So we were asked about the topic of resiliency. Yeah. So for me, during this time as a musician, it's definitely been a goal of mine to just stay focused and keep going. I think when you have a dream that you want to accomplish, no matter what comes at you, you have to stay rooted in the faith that you'll be able to get through any circumstance. Obviously, this is one of those wild, unforeseen circumstances, especially for artists in our field. But the resiliency topic for me just means staying focused on our goals, even though things have to change in how that looks at the moment.
Yeah, and I think right now I've been trying to keep my head up and stay positive, and I know it's been hard as a musician not being able to play shows and connect with people as much in person. And I think to combat that, I've been trying to play a lot of music on my own at least, and connecting with people online and through Zoom a lot more often. And I think that's been really helpful for keeping the connection and continuing to do what I love at the same time.
Absolutely amazing, Kid Astronaut. So wonderful to hear your song and hear about your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed our wonderful show today. This was our first ever episode of Homeschool Psychology, the talk show edition. We learned all about resiliency. We learned about cup stacking. We learned about Taekwondo. We heard some amazing music from Kid Astronaut. Everyone's information will be down below. And I hope you can write in and tell me some of your ideas. And I'd love to see any of you on the show. So please write in. You can reach me at mradamryanparker@gmail.com and send your ideas. So one last time to think about resiliency. For homework, I want you to think about, how do you show resiliency? How do you bounce back when something doesn't go your way? How are you creative? How do you use deep breathing? Or maybe like me, you use a really strong support system of your mom, your dad, your brothers and sisters, or just some friends. So think about resiliency. You can write it in the comments below how you've shown resiliency in the past. And I really look forward to seeing you next week for Homeschool Psychology, the talk show edition. Bye!